Today on Locked On Rockies, let's play a little game here, a classic game. It's called Over or Under. The Rockies are listed at our friends at FanDuel at 65.5 wins. What has to happen for the Rockies for you to hit the over? And what could go wrong for the Rockies that you'd hit the under? We're going to talk about that today on Locked On Rockies.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 16th day of February in the year 2023. I am your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team each and every single day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, well, you are in the right spot. Because what do we do around here? Well, we talk about the Colorado Rockies each and every single day here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. I'm your Rockies fan extraordinaire, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Been following this team my entire life, bringing you your daily Rockies talk for a couple of seasons now here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We are going to talk big picture. We're going to continue to kind of preview the season and kind of go with kind of state of the Rockies in the sense of these win totals. We kind of talked a little bit about it. We touched it, but now I'm seeing from our friends at FanDuel, the official win total for the Colorado Rockies is listed by FanDuel Sportsbook is sitting at over 65.5 or under 65.5 wins. That's the bet that you can go and place on FanDuel. And I just see these numbers. I just see those numbers, and you're always interested because what do they know that I don't know? What do they know about the Rockies that we don't know? Because this is the interesting point when you're looking at something like a sports book, or you're looking at some stuff that, again, when we kind of talk about analysis of the Rockies and how analysis of the Rockies can kind of not always be the best or the most accurate or stuff that just doesn't always seem the most grounded in reality or in the situation that the Rockies actually really are in. I don't think the Rockies are this team that is right on the cusp of losing. This isn't the Rockies team that's gonna lose 100 games. I really don't see why that would be the case, especially when there was no reason to kind of believe that this team was going to be as bad as it was last year. And this team is supposed to be healthier. There are some encouraging things in terms of just new faces and things we've talked about before, but I just want to know, was this offseason so poorly perceived? Is the current state of the Rockies and the effectiveness of what this youth movement for the Rockies is going to be? Is it really that low? Is it in such a low regard in the eyes of sports books, in the eyes of national analysts, and overall perception? Is this team really poised to be as poor and as bad as it is? Is this team really on par with some of the worst teams in baseball? I just don't necessarily see us being the worst. Will the Rockies most likely be a bottom 10 team in baseball? Absolutely. That's a slam dunk. But 65.5 wins is not a lot. That means the Rockies would win less games. If you're hitting the under on that would mean the Rockies lost about 4 more games. Technically 3, because you'd be at 65, but you'd be under 65.5. So 3. So the Rockies would have to win 3 less games for that to hit. No, and then you sit there and you say, it doesn't seem like that. It's unlikely. But you have to remember that this is a team that is due for something new. This is a team that is going to have one of its biggest assets back. This is a team that has some new-ish pieces. They have lefties. Remember at the point in the season, there was a bit there where the Rockies literally didn't have anybody left-handed that could throw. The Rockies have two left-handers, at least in the bullpen now. They have Dinelson Lamet, who they really can believe. I mean, when you think about some of the things that really plagued the Rockies during the worst times of last season, the Rockies have at least made some sort of adjustment to that. I'm not saying that these are immediate impact superstar going to change the landscape of everything, but the Rockies did move around and change their bullpen. The Rockies, instead of solely going in and relying on just pitchers from within the system, the Rockies have gone out and added arms to their bullpen. One of their weakest and one of their worst aspects of their game in all of last season. Mixed in with the possibility of a bounce back year from Chris Bryant and a Brendan Rodgers that isn't particularly dreadful to start the year. I mean, I just don't. Let's dive in. Let's kind of break it down and see what has to happen for the Rockies to hit both the under and the over. And we'll start with the under just so we can kind of get out of the way of what could go really, really wrong for the Rockies, because a lot of things went wrong for the Rockies last year and they still didn't hit this under. And if last year's team can survive, this team, stuff's going to have to go really, really bad with this year's current team for the Colorado Rockies. And we'll talk about the kind of situations that will lead to the under here if you want to go place the bet at FanDuel in the second segment. But let's talk more about our friends at FanDuel. The midway point of the NBA season is here, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to points scores and threes drained. You can check out what's going on with the Nuggets, but in case you're curious with the Rockies, the line is minus 110 for that over-under on that future bet for the Rockies win total at FanDuel right now. So not too crazy of a bet, but just in case, might be a little hedge, or maybe something you want to parlay here into the future and for your future bets, because you can do that at FanDuel with the single game parlays as well in your bets for, like, you're getting to the Nuggets action or maybe the Avs or something like that as well. So don't miss the chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Live chat here says 13x AM 13. If the Rockies sell, who would buy them, or who do you think would purchase the team? Some really, really wealthy person. I don't know who. I really don't have any idea, and I don't really necessarily have an idea of who I'd want to buy the team. I'd want someone who buys the team that loves baseball, that loves quirky baseball, and would love to really dive deep into making the Rockies a unique baseball team experience and environment, which I don't think the current leadership does. Eric Harper says, we're in for a substantial bounce back years from Chris and Herman. I'm hopeful. And 13XAM 13 says 70 wins with the eye emojis and more. We'll dive back into the live chat here, but because I like where the optimism is. I like the optimism of being good, of feeling good on Herman and Chris Bryant, because I'm in the same boat. But let's talk about the bad news. Let's talk about if you're feeling really low on the Rockies. Things could go really wrong for the Rockies this year. If Chris Bryant continues to be unable to play consistently with the Rockies, they really are going to be missing a key part of their offense. They're also going to be missing Randall Grichuk for the beginning of the year. The pop, there's not enough pop, known pop, in this lineup right now. You have people that can put some thump into it, put a little wood into the ball, but Chris Bryant needs to him being in the lineup is, I think, overall going to elevate, but we've seen what the Rockies are like without him. We've seen what happens with Chris Bryant in the line, just in a small sample size. But if Chris Bryant continues down a path of unfortunate, the health just isn't there and it isn't working out for him so far. It's year 2 in a long contract and a lot of money that isn't working out. It's a big key thing that the Rockies are counting on that they aren't getting. And it's going to lead to who is going to step up. Because another reason why the under would hit for the Rockies is the prospects just aren't really that good, at least yet, at least this season. And they kind of start, maybe they stumble out of the gate. Maybe they go cold in the middle of the year. Maybe the home road splits continue to be brutal, as we've seen throughout Rockies home history. There's a lot of what ifs, and there's a lot of things that the young players at the Colorado Rockies have to finish or have to go through as they're going through this season. Now, I personally think the fact that a lot of them and the Rockies embracing the idea of going after these players and getting them up and getting them time at the major league level last year was incredibly important. You at least break kind of the seal, I guess, quote unquote, of giving these players, hey, this is what it's like. This is how it feels. This is how you prepare. This is how you go through. This is what a major league baseball game is like. But on the flip side, the Rockies are handing the keys yet again to a young player at shortstop. And as much as we are hopeful for success, and as much as people that you kind of seen the at least on MLB's promotional side and there's offseason content there, they've talked about how Ezekiel Tovar as the big name for the Rockies. That's a lot for him. And if that doesn't happen, the Rockies are going to need someone to replicate Jose Iglesias. Jose Iglesias was incredibly important for the Rockies and was a big reason why the Rockies were able to, win 68 games. I know that's not much, but Jose Iglesias was a good contributor for the Rockies. These young guys have to contribute. And if they don't, the Rockies are in serious trouble. In terms of what this season would turn out to be, if the core 4, the 5 prospects, the 3, 4, or 5 prospects that the Rockies are really hoping for this season, if they don't perform, the Rockies will be in dire straits because that's a significant part of the team. The young prospects, the youth of the Rockies is going to make up probably a third of the lineup in almost every single game the Rockies play. You're going to see some combo of the young guys in there. And that's going to, so if they're not